Good morning, and today's going to be pocket nines. In the sand, we have a limper, and then a min raiser. Limper's playing 66-9. He's playing pretty loose. He's playing at least over 50% of his hands, and he's coming in for limps with those. Occasionally raising. He's probably raising premium, so I say this is 54.4. I bet he's raising something like this. Let's get that. Maybe raising at least those, because he does raise, but then he's limping with all the rest. This next player is loose. He's also raising a bit more liberally, but his raise isn't very large, so I don't think it's going to be super strong. I think we're looking at something that is definitely something like this, minus our big hands. So, take out something like that and say he's, limp raising. That's 20% of raising limpers. That's 20%. That's easy. This guy calls. He's playing 23-0. I have him listed as being extremely passive. He really hasn't raised at all. When you see his small blind, he's called a 2-bet 14%. Tends to call limp from that position, but he doesn't raise. 371 hands he has never raised. Now it's possible that he hasn't had aces to raise, but I'm going to take aces out and say this is probably a range that he's looking at, or he's just calling with all of his strong hands. And then it's on me. Button versus cutoff. I think this is a good time to raise. This would be a big blind versus cutoff. I'm actually going to take out some of that 7-6 and add just a few more. We've got some really loose players. They're going to have a lot of hands. They're going to have to get rid of a lot of hands on the flop. So I'm going to make sure that I have a somewhat stronger range. And we could include 7-6. Nothing wrong with it, but I think I'm going to be raising something like this. How much do I raise? We're going to have to raise big. I don't mind if we get a fold. There's 5 big blinds out there that we can win, plus our 1 big blind. We're going for trying to apply pressure. And hopefully get some folds, but if not, we should get folds on the flop. So 12 seemed about right at the time. I think normally, a standard 3-bet size would be about 10 to 12 big blinds. I went to the full 12 because this isn't a standard raise. So with a min bet, maybe it might be raising to 8 to 10. With a limper or with a caller, make it a 12. So first guy folds. He's got very wide range. Second guy calls. Does he call with the same raise that he made that play with? Now I'm going to take some of these out and just assume that he would have folded. So maybe something like that. And this player calls. So again, I raise a 12. He's probably going to call with everything here. Maybe he dumps these hands. And I rarely see pocket pairs getting dumped here. So flop comes Jack 8-3. We have the 9 blocker, so we're less concerned about like 9-10 being out there. Jack does hit. I'm gonna guess that if I bet, I'm probably getting called by jacks. 8s might call. Fold to a c-bet for villain 2 is actually fairly high. These numbers look like we should be c-betting probably 100%. And here's the thing, his fold c-bet in position 75%. He's overfolding, so I'd attack him with a c-bet. This player's less so. When he is out of position, he folds 50% of the time. In position, 0%. It's only 2 hands that he's been in this situation. So Villain's going to check. I think he's going to check probably everything. I think this is a good value bet here, or c-bet for a little bit of value. We obviously don't mind if we get folds from hands that include a queen, king, or ace, because any of those hands would now beat us if they connect. So I think we fire out c-bet. We had already made our 3-bet. We fire out our c-bet to be aggressive. I think we would do that with our sets, with our overpairs, with our top pairs. So I think I would probably do it with all of those, with all of our pairs here, at least our middle pairs. I don't think I'm going to do it with 7s. I mean, we do have blockers if someone has 9, 10. But I would also bet with 2-card backdoor flush draws. Probably not our overcards. I think I would, especially into 3 players, I'd probably be betting something like that. And then if called, I'm going to have to slow down. So Villain 1 folds. I would have expected him to call. Probably with that. I think he's going to fold those smaller pairs. Obviously, I think he'd call with the open-ender and probably the gut shot. So I think I'm getting 60% fold, which is okay because he's getting rid of some of those cards that could catch it to beat me. So he folds. This next guy, do I expect any check raises? I don't, not at this time. So I think sets, overpair, top pair, middle pair probably. I think he's going to fold those. I think he's got some draws. So again, pretty tight calling range, and he did call. And I'd even say it's possible that he's going to fold these like 9, 10, 8s, 9s, and 10s, pair 8s, and then pocket 9s, pocket 10s. And this is why I was afraid of it. When the king comes, I'm less concerned that he actually has a king now, because I don't think they just call with a king X. So Villain 2 checks. I think he's checking everything, and at this point we have to consider what hands does he have. I think when we look at his ranges, and we can look at like a cumulative. So let's see the percentages. So it took some time to try to get the cumulative mode, but I guess it's no longer in this version. So I'd say at our top pair plus or middle pair plus, I would say we're looking at over 50%, almost getting close to 60%. Actually, yeah, 65% of hands are going to be better than us. So when he checks, I think we just check behind. We're beat. I don't think we're going to get folds. I don't think they're going to fold any of those. He's a passive player. I think he's probably just going to be calling down. So I think we check our hand. I would continue betting sets. I would continue betting sets in 2 pair and probably the over pair. I think top pair we can justify a bet. But I think we're checking those, and I think I would also check our draws too, because I don't think I'm going to be getting folds, with the open ender and the gut shot. Definitely the gut shot. So maybe we're betting the open ender along with these types of hands. Looks like we're getting a little unbalanced. So I think that's going to be our checking range, and at that point you could see that we definitely have a weaker range at this point relative to villain. And I think the reason being, we'd continue betting those for value. I mean, once he calls, I'm going to assume he's calling with a jack, or he's calling with some sort of straight draw. So I think he's going to pay us again. And also the pot was 74. Effective stack for him was 66. So if we bet, it's effectively pushing him all in, and I would probably do it with the top pair plus. And I'm going to put this, give the open-ended straight. I don't think we're going to be pushing with open-ended straight or gut shot. I think he probably just goes, just calls. I think we're going to be hoping to hit at this point. 5 hearts comes out. Villain bets 5. Suspicious, really suspicious. What is he going to bet this with? He is definitely a tight player. So at the 5 big blinds, maybe he bets with nothing, but we're still left with this situation where 52, 62, 65, over 65% of the time he's gonna have us crushed. We're losing here, we tie with the 9s, but there's only one combo of 9 left, so we're effectively, if I call, we're effectively losing 90% of the time. We beat these 2 hands. So I think we probably need to fold, but we're getting great pot odds. I only need to have like a 6% chance to call. I'm sure that's why he called, but it tells me that probably not. I think we're beat. And sure enough, he does. He shows us queens. So is there really anything we could do differently? No, not really. He's a passive player. Just so happens that he had a big hand on this one. When we look at his starting range here, you could see that he could easily have had under pairs here. That big bet, that pre-flop raise, he'll call that pre-flop raise with, and then fold on the flop. So I think we did the best we could. People could argue maybe we should have just checked the flop, but I think if we check the flop, if villain 1 bets, it's going to be hard. We'd have to call. He'd bet, he'd call, we'd probably call, and we're still in the same situation. So I think by leading out and being aggressive, we give both of these players a chance to fold, so we could realize our equity with pocket 9s. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.